Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into a topic today that's, well, let's just say it's universal. We've all been there.
Right. It's not the most glamorous, but someone's got to talk about it. Diapers.
Diapers. The
Oh, no.
unsung heroes of parenthood, right? We've got a mountain of research here, articles, studies, you name it, ready to go deep.
Absolutely. It's amazing how much goes into keeping those tiny tushies happy and healthy.
Right. And I think we often just go with the flow, so to speak, but this source really breaks down the why behind the what, which I'm finding super interesting.
It's true. There's actually a science to it. Like, take frequent diaper changes. Seems obvious, right?
Yeah, you don't need a PhD to know a dirty diaper needs changing.
Right. But what's interesting is how the source emphasizes that it's not just about the smell. It's about the science of a baby's sensitive skin.
Oh, that makes sense.
Think about it. Prolonged exposure to moisture, especially with newborns.
Oh, yeah, their skin is so delicate.
It's like a breeding ground for bacteria. And you know what that means.
Diaper rash.
Diaper Rash City. And nobody wants to go there.
No parent ever. So, okay, frequent changes, got it. But how frequent are we talking? Like,
Yeah.
is there a magic number?
Well, this source breaks it down by age, which I appreciate. Newborns, those little peanuts, they're talking every 2 to 3 hours, sometimes even more.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is. Their bladders are still developing, their little pee and poop machines. But as they grow, that time frame stretches out a bit.
That makes sense. They get a little more control.
Right, exactly. But in those early days, yeah, frequent changing is key.
Okay, so we're talking like 10, 12 changes a day. Easy.
Oh, easily, maybe even more. Depends on the kid, right? And speaking of changing, the source also mentions cleaning thoroughly each time.
So are we talking a full-on spa treatment every time, or is a quick wipe sufficient?
Let's just say we're aiming for gently thorough.
Okay, I like that.
It's all about those nooks and crannies, right?
Oh, yeah, all those little folds.
Every fold, every crease, those are like little hiding spots for moisture and bacteria. And those, my friend, are the enemies of a happy bottom. Gentle cleaning, especially after a bowel movement, that can make a world of difference.
All right, so we're talking frequent changes, gentle cleaning, what else?
Well, this one I thought was interesting because we all do it, right? They mention letting the skin air dry.
Really? Is that actually important?
It is. You'd be surprised how even a few seconds of air drying can help.
I just always figured a quick pat down and we're good to go.
Right. But it's all about that moisture. Those few seconds of airtime can really make a difference in preventing diaper rash.
Okay, well, air drying it is. Now, I'm really intrigued by this sources don'ts section. It's like a myth-busting zone for diapering, which I'm here for. For instance, they mention not over-tightening the diaper.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
But isn't a snug fit better to prevent leaks?
That's what we tend to think, right? But over-tightening, it can actually restrict the baby's movement, and that can be uncomfortable.
That makes sense. Imagine wearing pants that are too tight all day long.
Exactly. Not only is it uncomfortable, but it can also interfere with their development, which is something a lot of parents don't realize.
Yeah, the source even mentions potential hip development issues if diapers are consistently too tight. What's the connection there?
So there's this condition called hip dysplasia, and while there are a lot of factors that can contribute to it, consistent pressure from a too tight diaper can increase the risk, especially in baby girls.
Wow, I had no idea. So how tight is too tight?
So a good rule of thumb is the two-finger rule. You should be able to comfortably fit 2 fingers between the diaper and your baby's tummy.
2 fingers, got it. That's way more important than I ever realized. Okay, so we've covered changing and the fit, but now onto the age-old debate. Cloth diapers versus disposable.
Ah, yes, the diapering dilemma.
It's a classic for a reason, but I feel like we always hear the same arguments back and forth. So let's break it down. What's your take on this never-ending debate?
Well, you're right. It's a debate as old as time, and rightfully so. Both options have their pros and cons. But I think it's important to go a little deeper than the usual eco-friendly versus convenient spiel.
Okay, I'm all for going deeper.
So let's start with cloth diapers, right? They're often praised for being environmentally friendly, which is true to some extent. Reusing diapers definitely cuts down on waste. But here's the thing, washing those cloth diapers, that requires water, energy, and detergent.
Oh, right, so it's not just about tossing them in the washing machine.
Exactly. And those things have an environmental impact too, so it makes the whole eco-friendly argument a bit more nuanced.
Okay, so it's not as simple as it seems. What about the financial aspect? Are cloth diapers really more economical in the long run, like some people claim?
That's where things get interesting. While it's true that cloth diapering can save money over time, There's that initial investment.
Yeah, I imagine those cloth diapers aren't cheap.
And it's not just the diapers themselves. You've got the covers, the liners, maybe even a diaper sprayer if you're feeling fancy.
Wow, it's a whole system.
It is. And then there's the ongoing cost of washing and drying, which, let's be real, that can add up too.
So many things to consider. I'm starting to see why this debate never seems to die down.
Right. And we haven't even touched on disposables yet.
Okay, so disposable diapers, what's the deal with those?
Well, they're definitely convenient, right?
No.
No washing, no drying, just toss and go.
Can't argue with that.
But, of course, there's the environmental impact. Those disposable diapers end up in landfills, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's the downside, for sure.
And then there's the cost. Those disposable diapers can get expensive, especially with the newborn going through so many every day.
Right, like we said, 10, 12 a day, sometimes more. That adds up.
It does.
So, which diaper reigns supreme? Is there a clear winner in this showdown?
Honestly, it's a draw. There's no one-size-fits-all answer. It really depends on your lifestyle, your budget, your baby's needs, and your personal preferences.
So it's about weighing the pros and cons and figuring out what works best for your family.
Exactly. Some families even choose a hybrid approach, using cloth diapers at home and disposables when they're out and about.
That makes a lot of sense, the best of both worlds.
Exactly. It's all about finding a system that works for you.
It's all about finding what works, right? That seems to be the theme of parenting in general.
It really is. Every baby is different. What works for one might not work for another.
So true. Speaking of finding what works, let's talk about diaper rash, because this source has a whole section on preventing it, and some of it, I'll be honest, surprised me.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, they actually recommend diaper-free time, like
Yeah.
letting your baby just hang out,
Yeah.
Au natural.
I see why that might raise an eyebrow or two.
Right. Isn't the whole point of a diaper to, well, contain things?
Of course. But think about it this way. Even the most absorbent diaper can trap a bit of moisture against the skin.
That's true. There's always going to be a little bit.
Right. And that moisture, even a little bit, it can irritate their sensitive skin. So giving them some naked time, it allows their skin to fully air out, which can really help prevent diaper rash.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. But practically speaking, isn't that kind of a recipe for disaster? I mean, babies, they go wherever, whenever, right?
It might seem daunting at first, but honestly, it's manageable. Just lay down a towel, maybe a waterproof pad underneath if you're feeling extra cautious, and let them have a few minutes of freedom.
All right, so it doesn't have to be a whole production, just a few minutes here and there.
Exactly. Even short bursts of diaper-free time can make a big difference. Plus, babies usually love the feeling of being unrestricted. It's a win-win.
Okay, I'm convinced. Diaper-free time it is. So besides airing things out, what else can we do to keep those little tushies rash-free? I see the source also mentions diaper rash creams. Should we be slathering those on at every change or just when we see a rash starting?
When it comes to diaper rash, prevention is key. Using a barrier cream at every diaper change, that can significantly reduce the risk of a rash even popping up in the first place.
So better safe than sorry.
Exactly. These creams usually contain zinc oxide or petroleum jelly, which basically create a protective barrier on the skin. So it's like an extra layer of defense against moisture and friction.
Ah, so it's literally creating a barrier between the diaper and the skin, hence the name barrier cream.
Exactly. And just like with diapers, finding a cream that agrees with your baby's skin is important. Some babies are more sensitive than others.
Right, because babies, they can't tell us what's irritating them, so we have to play detective a little bit.
Precisely. Opting for fragrance-free and hypoallergenic options, that's always a safe bet, especially in those early days.
Good to know. Now, I noticed the source also talks about avoiding irritants, which seems obvious, but are there things parents might not even realize are bothering their baby's skin?
You'd be surprised. Fragrances are a big one.
Fragrances.
Yeah. So many baby wipes, diapers, even some baby lotions and creams, they contain fragrances that can really irritate a baby's sensitive skin.
I never really thought about that.
Yeah. It's one of those things you don't always think about until it becomes a problem. Choosing fragrance-free and hypoallergenic options, especially in those early days, can make a huge difference.
Okay, so fragrance-free is the way to go. What about, like, the actual wipes themselves? Are some wipes harsher than others?
They definitely can be. Some wipes contain alcohol or other harsh chemicals that can dry out a baby's skin.
Wow, I had no idea.
It's all about reading those labels. Look for wipes that are specifically designed for sensitive skin and avoid anything with harsh chemicals or alcohol.
Good to know. So, fragrance-free, gentle wipes, Anything else parents should be on the lookout for?
Believe it or not, even the detergent you use to wash their clothes can be an irritant.
Oh, right. Especially if you're using cloth diapers. All those things are coming into contact with their skin.
Exactly. Choosing a gentle, fragrance-free detergent that's specifically designed for babies, that's really important.
It's like we have to rethink everything once that baby arrives. It's a whole new world of products and ingredients.
It is. And honestly, it can feel overwhelming. But the good news is, there are so many great resources available now to help parents navigate all of this.
That's true. There's a lot of information out there. So we've covered preventing diaper rash, but what happens when, despite our best efforts, those little red patches still pop up? What's the best way to deal with an actual diaper rash?
Well, remember that diaper-free time we talked about?
The best part of a baby's day.
Exactly. That becomes even more crucial when you're dealing with a diaper rash. Giving that skin a chance to air out, it can really speed up the healing process.
Makes sense, like letting a wound breathe.
Exactly. And what about warm baths? Have you tried those?
Yeah, but I always wondered if they actually help or if it's just an old wives' tale.
Warm baths can definitely be soothing. The key is to avoid using harsh soaps and to gently pat the area dry afterward. Oh, and as tempting as it might be to use baby powder,
Yeah.
it's best to avoid it. It can actually clog pores and potentially worsen the rash.
Really? I always thought baby powder was like the go-to for diaper rash. You live and learn, right?
Right. It's one of those things that's been passed down for generations. But sometimes those old wives' tales need a little fact-checking. Ultimately, the key to treating diaper rash is to keep the area clean, dry, and protected with a barrier cream.
Got it. Clean, dry, protected. Anything else parents should keep in mind when navigating the sometimes tricky world of diapering?
We've covered a lot of practical tips today, but I think the most important thing is to remember that every baby is different.
Right, back to that.
What works for one might not work for another. And that's where observation and a little intuition come in.
Okay, I like where you're going with this. Tell me more.
Well, babies, they can't use their words to tell us what they need, but they do communicate through their behavior. They might fuss more than usual if a diaper is uncomfortable, or their skin might look irritated even after a short time in a wet diaper. It's about learning your baby's individual cues and responding accordingly.
So basically, becoming a diaper detective, looking for those subtle clues and adjusting our approach as needed.
Exactly. It's all about tuning into your baby and trusting your instincts.
It's like we're learning to read their minds, right? Through their, through their diapers.
That's a great way to put it. It's about recognizing those subtle cues, the squirms, the cries, the way they pull at their diaper. Once you start picking up on those signals, you become so much more in tune with your baby's needs.
It's a crash course in communication, but instead of words, it's all about,
Exactly. And the best part, the more you pay attention, the more confident you become in your ability to read those cues. You'll start to anticipate their needs. And that, my friend, is where the magic of parenting really comes in.
Love that. So for all our listeners out there, especially the first-time parents who might be feeling a little overwhelmed by, everything, what's the one thing you hope they take away from this deep dive?
You know, at the end of the day, it's about trusting yourself. You are the expert on your baby. You see them every day. You know their quirks, their preferences, their cries. Trust your gut. Don't be afraid to try different things. And remember, there's no one right way to diaper a baby.
Trust your gut. You heard it here first, folks. Well, maybe not first, but definitely from the best diaper expert ever. Wow, we covered a lot of ground today, from the science of diaper changes to the great cloth versus disposable debate. And I think the biggest takeaway is it's not just about the diaper, it's about understanding your baby.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off and maybe go change a diaper or two ourselves. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into all things diapers. Until next time, happy parenting, everyone.